Okay, so it's the very first slide, and I'm already in trouble because it doesn't seem to work. And also, I'm in trouble because a couple of days ago, when I rehearsed this talk of mine, I planned to summarize my experiences as, oh boy, I'm old. But actually, yesterday there was a great talk by the ExxonMobil guys, who I see hitting there, and they said the same gag. So I don't want to repeat their gag. I don't want to look like I'm stealing it from them. Instead, I would say that, yeah, I know the feeling. I can feel your pain, guys. And yeah, speaking of pains, we will be talking about pains today. So expect a rough ride, expect a lot of pains. But this is just the way things are going. Okay, I work for Sprint Consulting, and I can show you a couple of numbers. What is important from these numbers, I think it's this number of clients and these number of agile transformations, which we have already done, because it relates to my talk. So when I mention these numbers, probably you're thinking that, okay, so this is Sprint Consulting. The guys from Sprint Consulting must be doing agile transformations each and every time, except that we are not anymore. Why am I saying this? Because several years ago, it was very common that a company, an organization comes to us and says that, okay, we have heard about this agile thing. We don't know too much about it, but it's all around the place. Everyone is doing agile or tries to do agile. Please transform us. But nowadays, it happens very, very rarely. Instead, organizations come to us and say that, okay, guys, we have tried this agile transformation on our own, or sometimes even with an external consulting company, but we are just not getting the results. So please help us. And then we ask back, okay, so if I understand you correctly, it means that you have made an agile transformation and you want a second agile transformation. And they say, no. It's not a second agile transformation, it's the 7th agile transformation we want, or the 8th agile transformation. So sometimes people have been through a lot of agile transformations, and then we take a step back and say that, yes, okay. Yeah, we will try our best, but just imagine the change fatigue these kind of organizations have. So we have the impression that, one, everyone is doing agile now, or quote, agile. And the second one is that a lot of organizations are just not getting the results. They are failing. Excuse me, but that's the situation. And yes, this is our impression, but actually the data confirms that as well. So my first statement, everyone is doing agile now. Just take a look at the latest State of Agile report, which says that the adoption of agile in software development is 86% in 2021. We don't have the data from 2022 yet, if I'm correct. So it's almost 100%. Actually, it's the same for non-IT. Non-IT organizations, it's not as high, but the ratio, the speed which agile is increasing, the agile penetration is increasing, it's about the same. So it has more than doubled from 2020 to 2021. So this backs up my first statement. And the second statement is that still there are a lot of challenges in organizations which they call themselves agile. And if you keep reading the State of Agility report, you can encounter these sentences which just scream that there is some trouble. I have collected some of them, but you can see that they pop up over and over and over again. And I selected this one because it's very, very significant. The key challenges organizations face when adopting Agile have remained largely unchanged for the past several years. And I think that's a very, how would I say, strange statement. Because nowadays, all we can hear is that we are living in a VUCA world. I think, Diana, you have mentioned that yesterday, this ever-changing world. But look, there is hope. There is something which is not changing. It's that Agile transformations are not working. But we always hear that in this VUCA world, Agile will come to the solution. But it's not working in some organizations. Okay, so we must do something about this situation because it's not working. So although Agile is omnipresent, I can sign it.
So it didn't change compared to before the Agile transformation, or it didn't change after it happened, transformation?
Okay, so the question was whether it happens before or after the Agile transformation. It simply means that organizations do an Agile transformation, and the problems just remain. Or maybe sometimes the problems are not changed, sometimes the problems worsen. And we will get to the why can it be. So Agile is omnipresent as a buzzword. But maybe not all organizations are doing Agile. They are just stating that they are doing Agile. So what can we do in this situation, and what can be the causes? I start to explain how we do things. Okay, so usually in those situations, at least what we have done some years ago, because there were some signs of this situation, or this several years ago, we said that, okay, we'll come and we will do an assessment. We will assess the situation. The problem with the assessment is, however, that maybe I can best express it if I tell you the story of this picture right here. This story was created, this picture was created by one of my best friends, the AI, artificial intelligence. So I just popped up an artificial intelligence-based image creator, and I typed in, please draw me an Agile assessment officer. And this is what the AI came up with. So I think this guy looks pretty scary. And actually, that's the problem when we go to an organization and say that we want to do an assessment, and then all the people in the organization will say that, no, I don't want to be assessed. And it's especially true for such organizations where there is safety-critical stuff being developed, and there is a lot of audits, a lot of regulations, and so on. So they just hate it when we say that we are going to assess you. And by the way, this is not our goal. We are not there to judge them. We are there to understand how they are working, what their pains are, and so and so and so. So lately, we have changed the terminology a bit, although among ourselves, we still call it sometimes assessment for historical reasons, but we changed it to Gamba, or Gamba walk, even better. Why is this word better? First, it sounds very Japanese-ish. Actually, it's a Japanese word. So and it comes from Lean, from the Toyota production system. So when we talk to the management and say that, okay, we're going to go to your organization and we'll do a Gamba or Gamba walk, so Japanese-English mix, but anyway, then either the management knows what Lean is and then says, oh, this is some Lean stuff. Okay, I know these guys must know that as well, so these guys must know what they are doing. If the management has never heard about the term Gamba, then they will say that, okay, this is some exotic word. I don't have a clue what this means, but since I don't understand what they are doing, but they seem to be very convincing, they must know what they are doing. And in fact, we do. We know what we are doing because we have been through so many of these, whatever you call it, assessment gamba, that we could do this basically blindfolded. We could write those reports blindfolded because we have done it over and over and over again, and always the same problems surface everywhere. So sometimes we joke among ourselves that if we accidentally switched to such Gamba reports between organizations, no one would notice, not even us. And probably now you're wondering what are those findings. And the top one is the feeling that our organization is different, we are unique, so this agile stuff will not work here. And then comes the list of the very, very same findings as in other organizations. So sometimes I feel like in the movie of The Life of Brian, probably a lot of you have heard it, where the crowd chants that we're all individuals, we're all individuals. And the news is that their organizations, no, you're not. You're facing the same problems. And yeah, it can be like bad news, but I think actually it's good news because, one, it means that we have seen similar situations, so we can help. And the second one is that you're not alone. Okay, so this is the top one, and then comes the rest, and there is a lot, like communication problems, like people having no clue what they do relates to the purpose of the organization, of the goals of the organization. Yesterday, in the strategy, in the talk about strategy by, I think it was Jiv, if I'm pronouncing it correctly, there was an image of a headless chicken running around. And sometimes we feel that that's what's happening in the organizations. Also, there is fear-based culture, which is everywhere. Even if management is not promoting a fear-based culture, the hierarchies are so high that it just happens automatically. People start to fear about leaders being higher up in the hierarchy. And then come the metrics, for example, which are completely useless. Like, okay, we could increase the test coverage from, I don't know, 72% to 74%, but does it really matter? Or how accurate our estimations are. For that, I don't think you need a measurement. I can tell you the answer. How accurately can you predict the future? You cannot. So this is, again, a measure which is simply useless. And just imagine that you go to a customer and then you show the product to your customer and say, this is a great product because when we created it, the estimations were perfectly accurate. Just, again, no one would care. So that's another problem. And I could go on and on and on, but I have limited time. And later on this talk, we will encounter some other problems. Okay, so anyway, we talk to the people, collect the data, although the data is almost the same everywhere. So the symptoms are same everywhere. And then we compile it to a nice report with nice images, graphics, numbers. We pack it in such a way that the good, the bad, and the ugly, and then the good again. So we pack it into a special kind of sandwich. Am I allowed to say the ash word here? Probably not. So you can imagine what kind of sandwich this is and what kind of burger this is. And then we go to management and present this shiny report and start the Gamba. And yes, you heard it right. We go to the management and start the Gamba because this is when the real Gamba happens. Because the symptoms are the same everywhere, but the root causes might not be. So like if I'm having a headache, I feel the same headache, but it can be for several reasons. We have to find out what those reasons are. So this is the secret ingredient, presenting a report, which gives us an excuse to talk to the management about the problems. And then we observe what happens. And maybe it's best if I tell you some stories which have happened with us. And yes, I know that I'm biased because we are fixing failed transformations. I'm not saying anything about successful transformations, but probably there is a lot. And the other thing is, of course, I will not tell you names. And we even changed the formulation and the stories a little bit because it's not to put shame on anyone. I just want to show the regular patterns which we are seeing. Okay, so some stories. Are you ready? The very first one. We need more transparency, but please don't tell it to anyone. So guess who is behind this, this lack of transparency? Next one, the board will assemble in a couple of weeks and tell you the name of the person who will be empowered to make quick decision. Have you been in such a situation? Actually, in this story, it wasn't a couple of weeks, it was a couple of months, and then the answer was that, no, guys, look, we just cannot appoint one person who you can talk with. It must be a board, but we'll promise that it will be a very smart board, only 12 persons. Actually, we didn't take that job because we could do something, but no, it would take just too long. They wouldn't have the money for it. Okay, next one. We want improvements, but please no change in the processes. Okay, but how on earth? Next one. This is one of my favorites. Agile values are great, but we still want to do project management. Agile doesn't do project management. Okay, so then what do you want me to do? So you want to do the same project management methods and Agile and so no, and we try to convince them that in Agile we can do the same thing as project management does. Agile can be looked, for example, Scrum as a form of project management, but it was hard. Next one, I'm a certified Scrum Master, so I know about Scrum. I will tell the team how to work and decide who to fire. Let's talk about servant leadership a bit. Next one, we want to be so agile that we require 2 stand-ups per day with written reports. Guess who is the micromanager here? Okay, so this stuff comes over and over again. So the same problems are caused by various reasons. The root causes might be different, but when we talk to management, often it gives us much more information than when we talk to the lower levels of the hierarchy. Sorry for me to express it that way, but we sometimes encounter very high hierarchies in organizations. And okay, the next one, where is the Agile Gantt chart? Next one, where is the Agile project plan? And we try to explain, but yes, when we come to you, we will do forecasts of when you can expect what, but Agile is not about creating long-term project plans, not about Gantt charts. And actually, it's not upon us, it's upon you when the culture change will happen. Because just imagine that, for example, you go to a sports coach and say that, I want to be a professional in whatever kind of sports you want to be. How long will it take for me? That coach will say that it depends on your enthusiasm. It depends how much effort you want to put in it. And it's the same thing with culture change. Simply, it's very hard to predict. We can have some clues with these answers, but we cannot create such a plan that at this point, your mindset will change. It's just not the way things are. And the next one, where is the Agile Gantt chart? Feeling a bit of deja vu here, but it comes up very, very often. Where is the Agile project plan again? I just want to indicate that it comes up. It comes up a lot of times. And there was one situation where we were so fed up with it, is that we said that, okay, if you insist on having an Agile Gantt chart or an Agile project plan, maybe we can try to do it. Maybe we can try to create such a thing. Yeah, but how? And then we asked the leaders that in the previous transformation, which we just assessed, was there such a plan? And they said, yes, there was such a plan. It was planned for on this very day. This thing will happen with that team. And then we asked, okay, and was it a success? No, but they still had a plan, and we cannot produce such a plan. So we were in trouble, and we were thinking and said that, okay, maybe we can ask for this previous failed Agile plan to see what they really want. But it would be kind of lame to ask for a plan for a previous transformation. But later we figured that, oops, we have the data. Because we have talked with the people, we know exactly what happened before, what resulted into this situation. So maybe we can reverse engineer this plan. It will not be the original plan, because I think the intention was not for a transformation that fails. But maybe we can have a plan and then present it that that's what happened in your situation. And what's even best is that sometimes we are asked for a finalized Agile project plan or a finalized Agile Gantt chart, which is, again, something like, what is that? But this, for sure, will be finalized since it reflects what really happened. So, ladies and gentlemen, a drum roll. We have done it. This is the manifesto for Agile transformation. We are uncovering better ways of developing organizations by doing it and helping others do it. Through this work, we have reverse engineered the Agile transformation project plan. Of course, it's an Agile transformation project plan for a failed transformation. And it's not just it's a plan, it's a finalized plan. So, ladies and gentlemen, here it is. And since probably you cannot read it because it's very small, but and I promised I will be cynical, and I'm biased. But trust me, we have seen all of these things happen. And of course, it's a joke for those who didn't get it, but I think everyone get it. So what happens in a typical failed Agile transformation? Okay, First, rename team leader role to Scrum Master. Checkbox, Scrum Master role is solved. Rename project manager role to product owner. Checkbox product owner problem is solved. From this, you probably can guess that it's a Scrum transformation. Sometimes people mix it up, that Scrum is synonymous with Agile. And then I always ask, do you know how many times the word Agile is mentioned in the Scrum guide? Guess how many times? Exactly 0 times. So Agile is not synonymous with Scrum. Scrum help in your way of becoming Agile, but it's not the same thing. Okay, so we have the roles: Scrum Master, Product Owner. We have the developers, how they are called. Yeah, we have the developers. We have the team. It's a silo, but who cares? We have that. Next one: introduce bi-weekly status meetings. Call them sprint review and sprint planning. It's even better if you merge them, because then you can save time. We have seen it happening. So although it seems like a joke, we have all seen these things happening. The next thing is that we need a product backlog. How to create a product backlog? Yeah, we have Jira. There are a lot of tasks in Jira, sometimes in the hundreds or thousands. Yeah, so we have the user story. Just let's rename them user stories. And we have the tasks. And then we have the backlog. Case closed, solved. Then we start to work in this new Scrumish way, but we realize very soon that we cannot focus on anything meaningful for 2 weeks without interruptions. Then you realize that your organization cannot create anything valuable in 2 weeks. So what's the solution? Kanban, of course. Kanban is basically Scrum without sprints. Don't believe my words. So we switch to Kanban. This VIP, work in progress limitation thing, is something exotic. Maybe we don't need that. It will just stand in our way. So we are doing Kanban now. Great. What to do with the daily Scrum? We can introduce the daily status meetings. We can call them the daily stand-ups. Then we are done. Then we realize that no valuable work can be done in the organization in a day. So maybe we can reduce the frequency of daily stand-ups. Case closed. Then we introduce the retrospectives. That is when this fun starts to happen, because the retrospectives will introduce a lot of pain. and no one likes pain, and no one likes to be faced with painful issues, so they just get ignored. And then the next retrospective comes, pains come up again, nothing happens with them. So this is the time when we must decide that we have heard that we can tailor Agile to our needs, so we will tailor Agile to our needs and we'll abandon the retrospectives. And basically, we have covered everything which is in the Scrum, I think, so we can say that we are Agile now, and the next step is profit, which will not come, or maybe it will come, but not for the organizations, but maybe for us who later must step in and fix the situation. So there will be profit, but not in the way the organization expects. Yes.
You didn't plan for buffer time.
Yeah, it's maybe not the finalized one. But each plan is finalized until it's changed. So, okay. So what can be a reason for such kind of behavior? And I must admit that I cannot back up it with any science, but according to our experience, the thing is that first, the behavior of management during the transformation reflects the same attitudes as the attitudes uncovered during the Agile assessment, consciously or unconsciously. This is what I talked about when I showed you some responses from the Agile managers, for managers who want an Agile transformation. The next one is the organization will react to any change according to its very nature, which is resisting change. And why? Quite simple. They are not Agile. If they were Agile, then they wouldn't call us. And what is the definition of agility? Is the quick and efficient response to changing circumstances. They are not Agile, so they cannot do it yet. They must be taught of it. So what happens in that case? The non-Agile leaders will try to step in. They step in, but they come up with non-Agile solutions. And sometimes, instead of solving these problems, they will hide and thus amplify those problems. So what can we do in that case? We already know that the symptoms are that the organization is not very resistant to change. And just imagine this metaphor that you go to a sports coach and say that I want to run a marathon. And then the coach says that, okay, let's do some running. And at the end you say that I'm not very good at running, so let's have another plan to run the marathon. And the coach will say that, no, it's impossible. Instead of running less, you have to run more. It's the same thing. If agility is about responding to changes, you have to train yourself in responding to changes. And actually, if you want to understand what is happening, the best way is to try to change it, observe the results, and then you know what's happening, and then you can step up and do something to smoothen the way of the change. So that's why I'm saying that you don't need an Agile transformation, at least not an Agile transformation in the way I showed you the Agile Gantt chart. Instead, what you need is disruption. And in disruption, I don't mean something which will kill your organization, but it should be significant enough for some changes to start to ripple through the organization. And yes, yesterday we had heard Linda talk about how to talk to an elephant. Yes, it can be done in a loving and smooth and careful way, but basically you cannot survive if you don't learn how to change. So here is our Agile project plan. First, let's fix it and call it an Agile backlog. You disrupt the system. What will happen? The system will react. What you do? You look for the bottleneck in happiness and velocity and eliminate it. This will disrupt the system. Why are we looking for bottlenecks in happiness and velocity? For velocity, I think it's clear. For happiness, it's because happiness, morale, motivation is a multiplier of velocity. So when we talk about the iron triangle, we always forget that the speed of developers it's not constant. It doesn't depend on the number of resources or people. It depends on a lot more, like morale, like quick decision making, like empowered people, like less friction, like less dependency, and so on. Look for those things and change it. But this will again disturb the system again, so the system will react, and then you continue, and then you continue, and then you continue, and it's a never-ending process, as I think we have heard in the previous talks as well. Okay, so that's when the real transformation can happen. By constantly disrupting the system, you have trained them to respond to change. Responding to change quickly and efficiently is basically, that's the definition of agility. You have taught the system agility, and we always try to focus on the teams, on the lower levels. And yes, they do need support, but those people actually crave for the benefits of Agile. Because I think it was also mentioned in yesterday, the main motivators, autonomy, purpose, and either mastery, only in the case of teams, how you called it, Diana, team? Co-intelligence of teams. These are the main motivators, and well-performed Agile gives all of this. So it's basically there. The teams will discover what agility is if they are given the proper environment. For example, if they have transparency, they will see the purpose. If they will see the purpose, they know how to work towards the goal. If they have clear goals, suddenly having regular checkups like sprints makes sense. Suddenly providing some small bits of value makes sense. If they discover collaboration, suddenly the daily stand-ups will make sense. If they speed up, suddenly they can produce something meaningful in a day, so it will be useful for them to get together at least once a day and talk and collaborate in the issues. And actually, what's even more, why I believe that for teams, it's actually quite easy to achieve agility if they don't have change fatigue or if agility is not forced upon them. And the thing is, have you ever watched children play, like in a playground? What do? For example, they are in the sandbox, they get together, some of them might even don't know each other, but they are just decide that they will go play together, and they are, let's say, decide to build a sandcastle or a baker or create a bakery. So they are doing products and services. They collaborate on them. They don't create long plans. They just start doing it and learning it. And they have a purpose. They have a goal. What purposes they have? One is build a product, like build a sandcastle. Two is have fun, a very important goal. And the third one is, maybe they are not aware of it, but the third one is to learn. Because that's what evolution trained them to. That's the purpose of playing, by the way, is to have constant learning. And actually, it's a very sweet story. When my daughter was young, I asked her, what is the best thing in the world? And she said, playing. And it's very sweet. Let me express it in Hungarian. I asked her, mi a legjobb dolog a világon? And she responded, játszás. Okay, so the whole purpose of this is learning. And actually, they are agile already. So, guys, agility is in our blood. It's in our genes. Evolution has trained us to be agile because evolution seemed to prove that this is the best way to respond to problems. But somehow, decades of tailoring have made us forget it. We can be agile if we are in the proper environment. So basically, let's just read this quote from Joe Justice. that agile mindset emerges when the activities that frustrate the mindset are dampened and activities in line with that mindset are amplified and met with warmth, energy, interest, and sustainable excitement. So, to summarize, how can you achieve an agile mindset? First, motivate the people. Second one, constantly look for bottlenecks and eliminate those bottlenecks. So create an environment which is suitable for them, give them the support. And otherwise, just let them figure out how to work. If I want to put it into one single sentence, I would say that maybe build projects around motivated individuals, give them the environment and the support they need, and trust them to get the job done. Is this sentence familiar to anyone? Yeah, it's in one of the 12 principles of the Agile Manifesto. So it's not new. It has been there for more than, for us, in plain sight for more than 20 years. Somehow we still sometimes ignore it. But it's there. The clue of achieving an agile mindset is there. So what I would like to say, my main message is here is just people, let's grow up and let's train and let's again experience the feeling of childhood for creativity, for learning, for excitement, for fun. So let's put play back into the workplace. Let's come out and play. Thank you.